All right, guys, we're going to close out this podcast with Tears of the Kingdom. Yes, it came out last year, apparently.
Yeah, and, not 3 years ago.
Not 3 years ago.
I thought for some reason I felt like it came out way later or way longer
ago.
It did not. It came out last year. It is crazy. It's only been
May of 2023.
Yeah, just over a year since this came out, and I decided to pick this up again because I bought the PlayStation Portal. Didn't work out, and I was like, I want something in my hands, and I know I enjoyed this game, so I picked it up and I started playing it again. And I'm in the intro area of Tears of the Kingdom where you learn all your abilities and you're on the Sky Island, like going about doing your business, kind of like obviously Breath of the Wild had very similar intro. You're on this little raised piece of land. Anyway, I jumped into it and was just, walking around, having fun, learning my things, and I realized how much of a masterclass this opening level is. The ability for you to slowly learn things and have this is a pretty chunky opening area, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And for you to go around, it's like, oh, I get my Ultra Hand ability. Now I can start crafting stuff, like putting things together and making things. And they're little, the little bots, I forget their names. And you can kill them and you get more and more weapons and you're slowly like leveling yourself up and becoming more and more powerful. And just as you explore and as you get more things, like you really start to understand the mechanics of this, and it's not boring, like at all. Which I feel like in a lot of games, I just skip through the tutorials. I'm like, whatever. It's a shooting game, whatever. You shoot, you get some powers, and I do find myself in some of those games like, oh, what does this button do? How do I activate this ability? I think I did that in Black Ops.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the tutorials were in that. I think we just jumped into it.
Yeah, we jumped into it. There is a tutorial according to Breck. So
mine actually, when I jumped into Black Ops, like prompted me like, hey, do the tutorial before you play.
Yeah, but you can't fucking go back to that. I accidentally missed out.
No, you can. You go into when you go to search for a game mode, it's one of the options in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to do that.
I didn't do that.
But it's on the zombies. It's on the multiplayer.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, along with all of the slowly learning things, like there's actual story bits on here. And this is the part right here. Can you pause it real fast? When you go to your first little shrine, there are mushrooms on the wall that you have to climb up and get to it. And I felt like it was interesting. Like, obviously the game's like, hey, there's a shrine over here you need to go. So it's like, okay, walk that way. So you get over there and it's like, oh, how am I going to get up? And there's mushrooms there. And I feel like they're putting little things in front of you, little pieces, little crumbs to like help you travel and like go to your location. And I was like, man, that's like, I feel like that's really smart. Like, yeah, other games do that too, but for this exploration game, they kind of don't hold your hand for the most part. I mean, they're like, hey, here's a spot you need to go to, just go that way. I mean, Breath of the Wild kind of was what really made this a thing. Like, here's a location, but there's all this stuff along the way that you can do and interact with and have fun with. And so after playing this, I feel like there's not a lot of games that do intros this well, in my opinion. Can you guys think of anything of similar fashion?
Dragon Age of Elgar does a good job. Just kidding.
Because a lot of games I go into, it's just like skip. I'm going to learn some stuff. I'm going to do things. Yes, I have like these attacks, and I'll just figure it out as I go.
I feel like that's a you thing then.
I mean, it is.
Yeah, I feel like it is kind of a you thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because
if you're ignoring the tutorials, then it's going to be hard.
I usually feel like they're really boring. There's like a lot of text to read. There's a lot on the screen to like take in and digest. And for me, I'm just like, I feel like they really use a bad, like, not the best term, but they kind of dumb it down to the point where it's like easily understandable, like I want to have fun, right? Like that's the whole point of the game. Like I want to have fun. I don't want to get, I feel like I get stuck.
Have fun now.
I get stuck in tutorials where it's like, you have to learn this thing or you can't progress. And here it's like, here's a little something that you get. Now go have fun with it. And I feel like there's enough time between each thing that you learn that you can have fun with that thing and really get to understand it. Opposed to just like, here's a bunch of stuff. You're not going to use this one technique we just showed you until like 15 minutes in the game and then you forget about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So can y'all think of another game off the top of your head that has a good tutorial system?
Trying to remember. Well, it's hard because like it's this one is interesting because it's like it needs a good tutorial system because there's so much stuff in here that's unconventional and uncommon. You know,
Right.
it's like they're introducing a new ultra hand thing, and like there's all these different abilities that like just aren't in games. You know that they have to. You know, if they don't do it, then it just like it sucks. Whereas like other games, you can kind of like figure some stuff out as you go. But I think I like that I feel like it's not. I don't think they dumb it down as much as they like. They have less.
Term.
They have they don't hold your hand. Actually, it's kind of my perspective with it. Whereas like most places, it's like in Dragon Age Veilguard. Most recently, it's like I walk up to an area. It pauses the game and it pops up. Here's how you do takedowns. Little brief little thing, and then in that next moment, you are given an instant ability to then take down people. Do one hit, and all of a sudden everybody becomes stunned, and then you can take all of them down. So it's like here's exactly how you take somebody down. In this one, they don't fully always do that. It's kind of like here's a bunch. Like in this situation here, it's like here's a bunch of items. Figure out what you're supposed to do next.
Right.
So you have to kind of think about it a little bit. And I think it's a good thing. I mean, it can be challenging because then you like sit there. It's like, okay, if you don't fully figure it out, then it's like, well, you may miss an opportunity to do something that you could have done. But in this early stage, like you really kind of have to, like you can't not do some of these things. But it's a good way to kind of give you the building blocks to then help you when you actually get back down on the ground and like do all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely they don't hold your hand, and I think that's an interesting perspective in this game. It's kind of like here's some things available to you. Now figure out how to make sense with what you have. You know, kind of like the early days of the cavemen, where it's like you got rock and you got stick and you got whatever. Like how do you make this work? You know?
Yeah.
It's that kind of method in a way.
I think one that comes to mind that's really boring, but you have to do it is Cyberpunk. Like you go into like they're like, oh, you want to learn how to do all your stuff, and then you put the little chip in your mind, and you go into this like VR room in your mind that shows you how to do all the things, and like, oh yeah, there's a camera, and now you can hack it. But it's just like you go from one room to the next room to the next room, and it's very stale and methodical. While this one is,
well, it's not. I mean, that's like a literal like tutorial room, whereas this one is like naturally part of the world.
Right.
You know, it's like you're trying to get on the ground. So how do you do that? And eventually you find your way down, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah. So the way they build up to like having your first abilities is phenomenal. I was like, man, I forgot how fun this starting area is. Because I know you played a lot of it, and then you just kind of stopped when you got on the ground. But I was like, I couldn't believe, like, when I first played through it, like I wanted to get on the ground as fun as I was having on this area, because I want to get to the story. And now that I've played the story, I feel like now I have the ability to just kind of go back and appreciate everything that I'm doing. Yeah, like I don't think I appreciated this enough. I was like, oh yeah, it's a fun area. Like cool. Like I know my thing. I know what I can do. I know the new abilities, and now I'm gonna get on my adventure. And yeah, it's hard to believe that. I mean, in my review, I couldn't believe that they made a great game even better.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, we don't have games like this, I feel like, as much anymore.
Actually, one that does come to mind that I think it's not really a tutorial, but in the way in which they introduce you to mechanics, to where if you look at yourself from the beginning to the end, you're like, holy shit, like I'm a fucking badass now. Yeah. Neon White did a really good job with that, because in Neon White, the very first level you play, they introduce you to one card, and that's a very basic double jump. And they introduce you to another card, like the next mission, and they slowly piecemeal it to where at the end of it, you have like 30 cards that you're collecting and using in different ways, and you're doing these things so freaking fast that it just becomes like second nature. And you're like, oh man, like I literally felt so much strong. Like I feel like I progressed my skill so much from the very first level to like where I go back to the first level. I'm like, this is like, baby's first game or whatever. And then you get to the end, you're like, holy shit, the amount of stuff that I'm chaining together to do these combos and stuff. I think that one did a really good job. And I feel like this game does something similar, where it's like it slowly adds new mechanics to like, and then Echoes of Wisdom also being a Legend of Zelda game did stuff like that where it's like, here's your first object and then here's your next object, and then immediately after you get that object there's something there that they don't tell you what to do with it, but they're like, you need to use this object in some capacity in the next 5 minutes, figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think that's nice with a little bit of, it's like the building blocks that as long as you remember it and don't take a break in the game for too long, then come back to it, it's like you get these building blocks that lead up to like being able to do bigger and better, cooler things. That just is really cool and neat. So
because they just showed that you can put you can fuse, which is one of your abilities, a rock to any weapon that you have, and it becomes like a hammer.
Right.
And so in the other game, like you would have to have a hammer to break like stone that is breakable. And so now it's like, oh, if I just find a stick and a rock, I can now solve some problems where in the game, in the past, in Breath of the Wild, like if you just didn't have it, you didn't have it. I mean, you had a bomb.
You can make fire.
You had a bomb, right?
Yeah.
And that thing could be fickle sometimes, just depending on what situation you're in. And so that just goes to show that like the way that they thought out what new mechanics we're going to have in this game and what we can do to build upon it is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, in my book, this might be one of the best games of all time.
Yeah. It's really creative. I mean,
Yeah.
they did a really good job with their exploration and stuff.
Yeah. And like as you progress, like you get into a cave system, which is now a thing in the game, and like I didn't expect that. I mean, I knew like going in, but like the way that they introduce it and lead you into this area, it is kind of linear, but you just get so excited. Well, I was getting excited to like try this and try that, and like before you knew it, I'm in this cave area. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And they tell you got these bulbs. There's like little light flowers that you can shoot with your arrows after you get the fuse ability. You can create light, so it's like, ooh, if I go into a cavern, I know what I'm doing. I'm exploring. Like, I'm excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think more game developers should look at this as a masterclass on how to create starting levels or how to get people into the game and get excited. Because I don't think I've had a dull moment yet, which in a lot of like games early on, there's a lot of dull moments of just trying to learn and understand mechanics and stuff. So definitely worth looking into. I can't wait for the next game.
What do you think they're going to do for the next game?
I don't know, because should I spoil it?
Be able to fuse your body with things. I don't know.
I feel like you'd have to go. Okay, I'm just going to spoil it. It's been a year.
I don't play it.
Zelda's dead. And well, Zelda's not dead. She's a dragon. And you find that out later. It's a huge part of the story. Very emotional. I feel like you go back to the past at some point.
Oh, really?
To like bring her forward, or you do something with her as a dragon to like bring her back or something.
Interesting.
Yeah. I feel like there has to be a new world or something. Because, Breath of the Wild was just the land with, I don't even think there were caves. Were there caves? Yeah, there were like mini caves. Mm-hmm. And then this one allowed you to go in the sky and go underground to like this giant dark cavern.
Space. That's the next one.
Why not? Let's do it. Let's do it. Metroid Prime.
Wow.
So, anyway.
Somebody said, I looked up like what game has the best tutorial. A lot of people are actually saying Breath of the Wild. So,
okay.
Similar,
Yeah.
But this guy makes a really good point. Helldivers 2, short, simple, filled with patriotic fervor. He says, so like,
yes. I agree with that.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Witcher 3, you basically just play the game. That's what somebody said. Yeah. Somebody mentioned Half-Life. I think that's a good one.
I don't remember.
Well, actually, like Half-Life 2 specifically, because like learning how to use the different physics elements and stuff like that. But I don't remember thoroughly like what it was, but I remember the lead up to like opening up that game was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like overall tutorial systems are there just to obviously let you like understand the game, but I don't feel like no one takes the artistic ability to make it more interesting and exciting and worth like actually enjoying. Because I never thought I'd say that, being like, oh, This is a great tutorial area. I know people put a lot of hours into this.
Yeah.
And not even make it to the ground to start the main story. Plus, there's a lot of like little things to find and things to do to earn. Like there's those Korok people that you can
let you find and bring them back.
Or some that you have to take their friend to them. Mm-hmm. This is smart. I didn't think of this. Don't hit yourself. Anyway. Yeah.
I've never actually fully thought about this. Curious, like some of these Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, a lot of people are saying because they just make fun of stuff.
Interesting.
And yeah.
Okay.
But I don't remember what that one was like.
I don't either.
Ghost of Tsushima is listed in one of these articles here. Massive battle against a Mongol fleet. Players are taught how to navigate the terrain and eventually how to attack enemies before they're able to strike Jin down.
Yep. That's a good one.
Yeah. Star Wars Force Unleashed is on this list. Dark Souls. Fallout was on here. Dead Space 2. Interesting. It's hard to remember because I can't remember any of that like stuck in my head of like, oh man, the way they did this is like super
awesome.
creative.
Right.
You know? So
yeah. I mean, when I played it, that's my first thought. I was like, I don't think I've ever said that.
yeah. This one was good. 'Cause, I mean, honestly, until I got to the ground, I was having a blast with this game.
Right.
And I got to the ground, I was like, shit.
You're like, oh, now
There's too
it's
much
happening.
to do now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like it.
I mean, I don't know how to make shooters like have interesting tutorials. Obviously, there's like, yeah, you shoot, you reload. I think it's all that's all stuff's pretty standardized at this point. But if you have like powers and stuff, like I'm curious if Doom, the latest Doom games had interesting tutorials.
Somebody was just saying that they were like, it doesn't have one. but then somebody else responded, was like, no, you're an idiot. I was like, okay.
Wow.
Wait, Doom?
Yeah, like somebody on there was somebody that was like, Doom didn't have any. The other guy was like, no, it did, but they didn't.
I think they did.
They didn't go into detail, you know.
They had to tell you all the different moves to get all the different weapons or all the shield and health and ammo.
I mean, if you played it, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is a really good tutorial.
I'll have to see.
No, it's actually not that great of a tutorial, but it does do the job.
Assist.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anything else you want to add to the
No, I think that's it.
masterclass of
Learn from
opening
this.
segments? Oh, another question on Breath of the Wild. They said so I didn't get very far in Breath of the Wild because it was too much for me.
Yes.
But the Great Plateau is their opening area,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So there's another area that's bigger than that after the Great Plateau? Like, is it a different area? Or like what is, like, do you leave the plateau?
Oh yeah, you leave the plateau. Like you get the glider from the old man,
Yeah.
which is the king of Hyrule, his dead ghost
Spirit.
Yeah, and you float
Dead
down.
ghost. Spirit.
His spirit. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Dead ghost.
He's dead. He's a ghost. Yeah, you just float down from the plateau. That's how you get off of it.
Okay.
And then it opens up to the actual like
Thing.
the whole world.
Interesting. Okay. So the
Yeah.
plateau is part of that world. It's just like an elevated piece of it, I guess.
Yes.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I did not like that area.
Yeah.
Like it's it's very similar, but I did find it kind of boring. I don't know why I find this one so exciting.
Yeah.
I think
I mean, visually, it's more interesting, I think, too.
yeah, visually there's definitely more like going on like vertically and stuff, and you can kind of see how everything kind of stacks up in like a stair like fashion, and the audio is really good and very calming, and I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm feeling it right now. But I did play Breath of the Wild quite a bit, so maybe after a while I'm just like I'm sick of coming to this area.
That area.
Because I don't think you can save and just go back. Well, I guess Breath of the Wild you could. You know what? I haven't even checked. I mean, originally it was awesome. Like at least the first few times I played it. But I think having to go from like one part of the map to the next part of the map.
One, yeah.
This
Map
one
is huge.
the Sky Island, like it's almost linear, but
Yeah.
it does allow you to do what you want, so you can attack it in any fashion.
It's like a circle, I feel like. That's what it was.
Yeah,
It's like kind of like
circle.
walk around the circle, but there was a natural, even though they didn't tell you where to go, it was kind of you naturally put yourself around in the circle that you
Wait,
needed
did you
to
never
do.
get the paraglider from? I'm confused on what you're fucking asking.
No, I
now.
did. I just can't remember. It's been a while. I can't
There
remember.
it is, getting the player glider. Not that we have to watch it, but yeah.
It's been so long.
Yeah,
This was more
it's
than
like-
3 years ago. Okay.
That's true. This was.
Well, cool.
Yeah. Let me know what you think. If you think this is a great tutorial intro level, what are your favorite tutorial levels and or games that have really good tutorials? Yeah, leave a comment below.